Right. Okay, and we are live. Hey guys, welcome to the Superhero Cuts podcast, where we talk all things Marvel, DC, and Star Wars. This is episode number 58. Two more episodes, and we'll be at 60 episodes, which is insane. Bro, how are you doing today?
You know what they say about 58, right?
What?
No, I'm kidding. Nothing. I'm doing good, man. It's a big W, big week. Good news going around. We're gonna get into a good episode. How are you doing, my guy?
I'm good, bro. It's been a long week already, man. I was in Philly for work all yesterday, so I was tired, but we here, baby. We here. All right. So let's get right into the diet because here in Superhero Cuts we mean business. So let's get right to it. So Henry Cavill. So there's been a rumor that's been going around that Henry Cavill has been casted in the MCU. This has been kind of running around in the news for the past couple of days. So before we get into our fan castings, how do you feel about Henry Cavill being in the MCU?
I love it. This is a guy that we want in the comic book movie genre. And if there's one of the things that the Snyder crowd gets right is that Henry Cavill was a wasted casting. He is obviously a phenomenal actor, and I think that us and the Snyder crowd disagree on what went wrong with managing Henry Cavill's Superman. We think they just mischaracterized Superman. They think they didn't make enough of Henry Cavill's Superman. And I'm pretty sure that Henry Cavill actually agrees that they didn't handle his Superman well in terms of the characterization of the DCEU Superman. So listen, we know he's not going to be Superman in the DCU. And listen, I think the MCU is turning the page with the recent Pedro Pascal casting of Reed Richards, and they're starting to cast actors who are more widely known into roles. And I think that is, Henry Cavill is another step in that direction. I know you think he is going to be a very specific character, and I'll let you speak to that. I hope you're right, because, when you brought this casting up to me, I think a lot of people are talking about another casting, but I think this is the perfect casting for him. And I think that this is a character that the MCU needs to give more spotlight than Fox did. And with that, I'll let you take it.
Yeah, so I 100% agree with everything you said, with the fact that, getting an actor of Henry Cavill's caliber is the perfect thing to do in a universe. I mean, obviously, Henry Cavill is leading the Warhammer stuff that's going on at Amazon, which is going to be another really big, fantasy franchise that I think you and I will probably grow to love now. But putting Henry Cavill in the MCU is a no-brainer. This guy is not with the DCU anymore. James Gunn probably promised him some roles in other projects, but I mean, he's not going to be in the MCU. I mean, in the DCU anytime soon. He has to get his characters that he has now off of the ground. So having a character like Henry Cavill in the MCU is perfect, because Kevin Feige, one of his greatest roles is resurrecting people's careers. He did it with Robert Downey Jr. He's the reason why Chris Hemsworth is such a big actor now, and why people like Chris Evans, ScarJo, the reason why a lot of these actors have, kind of surpassed what, other actors have, been in, is because of the fact that Feige has been able to craft them to be in such good roles. And so I agree with everything that you said. Having Henry Cavill is a W. So for now, let's talk about the casting. So as you see in our thumbnail, we have Cavill as Sentry. I think this other one, let me see what this is. Let me turn it around. Him as Sentry, and then Wolverine and Captain Britain. So I'm going to be honest. I do not want Henry Cavill as Captain Britain. I do not want him as that, because of the fact that he is not a important character to lead into the future of the MCU, and he's not that powerful. If you bring an actor like Henry Cavill into your universe, he's someone that you want to have for the next 5 to 10 years, that you want to use. So I would love for him to play, Cyclops, if he gets casted in X-Men. And the one role that I will also think he will be perfect for is Doctor Doom. I think he'll be perfect as Doctor Doom as well. And if a recast for Wolverine is happening, I would love for him to be Wolverine as well. I think he would be a really good replacement for Hugh Jackman. And if you watch The Witcher, that shows you that he can play a character that dark and that just that grizzled type of character. Who do you think he should be in MCU?
I think that first of all, like to get the Captain Britain thing out of the way, I think Henry Cavill would make a perfect Captain Britain, but I think it would be a waste of Henry Cavill. Captain Britain is a dope character that doesn't get enough love and spotlight. He's also one of those characters that a lot of people on Twitter who don't read comics are now claiming to love. But there's not that much of Captain Britain to love because he's not in that many comics. It's very rare you see him. So you have to read a lot of comics to get to Captain Britain comics. However, all that aside, I think that number one, I would be happy with Henry Cavill as Doctor Doom, as Cyclops, or Wolverine. However, if I had my choice, I would take him as Cyclops. And the reason being is because I think, listen, I don't want to say Fox mishandled Cyclops because, like I always say, like the late 90s, early 2000s era of comic book movies was a different landscape. And they had to do what they had to do to make those movies successful without the fandom that the MCU gets to thrive off of today. And I think people forget that a lot. And in doing that, I think Wolverine was the obvious star for the X-Men franchise in that day. However, what a lot of people now, unfortunately, aren't aware of is that Cyclops is like the captain of the X-Men team. And Cyclops is like the Captain America. He's the one that calls the shots. He's the one that calls the plays. And, I think that if the MCU is going to do the X-Men, which we know they are, I think if they put someone like Henry Cavill and they announce that he's casted as Cyclops, I think people, would be a lot more interested in Cyclops. And I think that that's an important piece to have the MCU version of the X-Men be successful because people are going to buy into Wolverine. They're not going to mess that casting up. People already love Wolverine. Okay. It's Cyclops that they need to sell to the audience. And I think Henry Cavill would be a major step in doing so.
I 100% agree. I think that, as you said, Cyclops low-key is the heart and soul of the X-Men. And a lot of people think that is Wolverine. It's really not. Wolverine's kind of the guy that you call, we need someone killed. To be honest, that's kind of his role. And we need someone to do the dirtier work. That's when you call Wolvie. And he's also in the regular operations.
He's a star. He's definitely a star of the X-Men. Let's not play it down either.
Oh, yeah. But Cyclops is the brain behind, It's kind of like how, and a lot of people might not see this, but in the comics, in the actual Justice League, Superman is the face of the Justice League, and Batman is the brain of it. And that's kind of how it is with like the X-Men. Wolverine is the face of the X-Men, but Cyclops is the big brain behind it. So, I will love to see kind of that kind of role. So something like we've seen with a Tony Stark and Cap, and Batman, Superman, and Wolverine and Cyclops have that same type of relationship. And Wolverine. Not saying that he can be easily cast, but I think there's a lot of guys out there that could take that spot of Wolverine. And I think that in this reboot, if Cavill is Cyclops, bro, I think that would probably make Cyclops more popular than Wolverine in the MCU.
It's possible. I don't know, though. Wolverine is like a star. I mean, he is a bona fide, I think there's also something to be said for when a character gets to be raw and ruthless, kind of like, listen, Daredevil was obviously the star of the Netflix Marvel universe. But if you remember that first episode when the Punisher came in that hallway fight, I mean, once that episode dropped, like people were not as interested in Daredevil. And I think that, Wolverine has that effect within the X-Men.
Yeah, true. You're right. That is right. Yeah, man. I am really excited to see what Cavill's role is, and I trust that Kevin Feige's going to put him in the best position to be a great hero or villain. But but if he is Doctor Doom, that's a W casting as well.
Yeah. By the way, on the note of Doctor Doom, like Doctor Doom is such a big character and star in the Marvel universe that I forget who was saying it. I think it was our buddy Culture Nerd, but I think he was saying it on like a Q&A series on Instagram the other day, how he hopes to see projects with Doctor Doom before Doctor Doom is the big bad. And I was thinking about that, and I think that's important because I don't want to. I'm not saying they wasted Thanos, but if they do with Thanos, if they do with Doctor Doom what they did with Thanos, and Thanos is just the big bad of two back-to-back Avengers movies and gets a quick cameo before, like Thanos did in Guardians of the Galaxy, to me, that would be wasting Doctor Doom. And I would not be okay with that. I want more Doctor Doom. I don't want to skip Kang, but I want more Doctor Doom. I think like a Doctor Doom movie, a Doctor Doom series, or at least a special presentation. Or maybe just, kind of like Loki, have him be a villain in a movie, but, he doesn't really get killed off. They need more Doctor Doom. And I think it's also important because, there are a lot of people out there who don't read comics, but watch shows like us to do their homework for them, so to speak. And they don't really understand why Doctor Doom is the biggest villain in the Marvel universe. And, I don't think that they're going to appreciate Doctor Doom to the extent that they should unless we get that. And obviously, as a super fan myself, I just want to see more Doctor Doom.
Yeah, I've been leaning in the place of he needs to be in Doctor Strange 3.
That would be
but
dope.
Yeah, but there is a rumor that he is going to be at the end of the Fantastic Four, which would be awesome. I would love to see him in Doctor Strange 3, and I think that's the way to introduce him. Not try to make him a space villain like they tried to do in that Fantastic Four with Michael B. Jordan in them, but but I think introducing Doctor Doom as a sorcerer, I think would bring a lot of validity to Doctor Doom's powers, because a lot of people think that his powers come from that accident, and it's not true. Like he already was a sorcerer before all of this stuff happened. So, I think that there's a way to make Doctor Doom's lore even deeper, and I think Doctor Strange 3 is the perfect way for us to get a deep dive into his lore, into who he is, and then maybe even
Latveria.
maybe yes, and maybe if we get T'Challa back and seeing him in Black Panther and him and Black Panther having beef. There's a lot of ways that there's nothing better to see than no more Black Panther and Doctor Doom going at it. That would be one of the greatest storylines that we could ever see in the MCU. So there's a lot of things, and Doctor Doom can really fit in with almost any hero. I mean, to be a villain. I think him going against Doctor Strange is also something that could be otherworldly. That could be special. Even him going against Iron Man. I mean, he can fit anywhere, man. He can fit anywhere. So,
Agreed.
and depending on how this goes, and this might be a reach, but I'm gonna just put this out there. This might put Doctor Doom as the number one if they do it right, because Doctor Doom is one of the most versatile villains of all time.
When you say number one, what do you mean? The number one villain?
Greatest villain to ever touch the live action screen.
He should be. There's no in my view, if that isn't the result, they failed.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at, because I mean, I look at Wanda, right, in the MCU, and you and I can both agree Wanda's darn near unstoppable in the MCU. The only person that stops Wanda is herself. That's her power level. I see Doctor Doom on that level of power.
I don't know.
He's darn near unstoppable.
What's her name? America Chavez beat Wanda. Bro, America Chavez.
That's not in my head canon. Well, technically, she didn't beat Wanda. She slowed down Wanda Wanda stopped herself. I mean, she let the rocks fall on her. Well, rocks fall on her. I don't really think that she fell, but yeah, but I mean, like, but I see like the same way Wanda easily took out the Illuminati. I see Doctor Doom having that kind of power level, and like he should be that powerful. And I also expect the power jump. But while we're talking about Doctor Strange, I expect Doctor Strange to have a massive power jump, like
Yeah.
massive. It is they did him wrong. He needs to be the Sorcerer Supreme, and he needs to be the most powerful sorcerer on Earth.
I still can't believe that they put out Multiverse of Madness.
Why?
Just they really butchered that entire movie.
Oh yeah, you know I love the movie. You know that I love MOM. I
But
watch
the
it all the
ending
time.
is so bad.
Yeah,
It is
I watch it
so
all the
bad.
time. The movie's fire, but I will say the parts
No,
that
bro,
needed to hit.
that third act is of
Don't go that far. Don't do it.
of the movies that are like taken seriously in the MCU. Meaning, we're not talking about the Marvels or Thor: Love and Thunder, because those are just like so bad that we're not going to compare Multiverse of Madness to the Marvels and Thor: Love and Thunder.
Dark World also had a terrible third act as well.
Not as bad as Multiverse of Madness.
I mean, other than America Chavez, it wasn't that bad.
I hated the whole zombie thing. Like,
And
also, it should
like
have
zombies,
been. It should have been a dope Doctor Strange and Wanda like face off. And
well, they should have faced off
scene,
against someone else.
but that scene should have been like a spectacle masterpiece. I mean, think about that. Doctor Strange against WandaVision with the Darkhold. Are you crazy? Or Wanda with the Darkhold? Like,
I agree.
on paper, that is fire.
I mean, look, with the build up that WandaVision had, which you know, I think it's the greatest show almost of all time. Like when you have a build up like that, you like the way they delivered that was crazy. I mean, I can even admit that. So that was a big L on their part. But yeah, so yeah, we are excited about Cavill, and we hope that he's in a role that we can see for a while. All right. Next thing, Batman Beyond. So I'm gonna read what this says because there is some news about an animated Batman Beyond movie that came out, and I'll put up some images when Comic Cuts talks about as well. So this is what was said. Before we pitched, they warned us there is absolutely no way we can do a Beyond movie, but they loved our enthusiasm. We pitched the outline for the entire film, and what started as a never turned into a maybe. So I'll let you give the backstory.
So
and take it on home.
I spotted this today when it was trending on Twitter. I think it went to like it was number 2, maybe even number 1 at one point, but it was within the top 5 for a good portion of the day. And, you know, I think that there's 2 things are true. Number 1, everyone wants to see the Spider-Verse style of animated movies happen to other characters. Number 2, I think everyone's wanted to see Batman Beyond in some form or another outside of the original animated series on Cartoon Network from the late 90s, early 2000s, and comic books. Because, you know, Batman Beyond originated as a Cartoon Network animated series that was targeted for children. And, you know, that's how the character was born. And since then, he's really only been in comic books. And I mean, they have like one spin-off short animated movie. But this art just looks insane. And immediately it put myself and presumably everyone else in the world of what it could look like to have a Batman Beyond movie in the style of the Spider-Verse movies. And everyone lost their minds at these 3 images that you're looking at now. You know, of course, there were a lot of people that were like, of course, Warner Brothers fumbled the bag. Like, first of all, an idea was presented to them, and they originally said no, and then they said maybe. So they technically, number one, didn't fumble it, and their interest peaked from seeing the images. I'm sure there are many who are, well, yeah, they should have greenlit it right away. Things are a little more complicated. But the good thing is that James Gunn is now the head of the DCU. And after today, he 100% is aware of this movie pitch going around, or not going around, but you know what I'm saying. And I think that it's probably going to happen. James Gunn is going to find a way to make this happen. However, the problem with Batman Beyond in terms of the DCU is that Batman Beyond's character is a young, juvenile kid who is trying to right his wrongs. He went like to juvenile hall, which, for those of you that don't know, it's like prison for children. It's like prison light or whatever you want to call it. And so he was like a bad kid, turned his life, went to juvenile, wanted to right his wrongs and fight crime to, right his wrongs. And his mentor is an older, retired Bruce Wayne. So you can't have an older, retired Bruce Wayne being a mentor to a young Batman Beyond when you're also going to have a Batman movie and a young Batman in the same universe. Of course, they could get creative and they could have a Batman Beyond that crossed over into the multiverse and now exists within the DCU. And listen, if you want to write something to make it work, you could do that. However, I wouldn't be opposed to them kind of bending the origin of Batman Beyond to make it work. Because, listen, yeah, you could do the multiverse thing, but I'm kind of tired of the multiverse just being the excuse to make anything and anything happen. But you know what they could also do? They could also make it an Elseworld story. The Spider-Verse movies are basically the same exact thing as an Elseworld story. They don't exist in the MCU timeline. They exist in another universe, whether it's handled by the same company or not. It's an Elseworld story. So they could do it as an Elseworld story. I prefer it to somehow make it into the DCU, but I also wonder, even if James Gunn wanted to do the multiverse thing or write it into the story, does that impact their plans that they already have for the Bat family? I don't think the Batman script is written yet, but I'm sure it's, at very least storyboarded or something. What do you think, Stevie?
So I think that this is fire. Number one.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that. I mean, the freaking art is just drop dead amazing. I mean,
yeah.
And the reality is this: this guy he is contracted to do a lot more Spider-Man animated movies. We're going to talk about that later on in our news, but he is contracted to do a lot more Spider-Man films. And he is working on, the next 2 to 4 Spider-Man films as well with the Spider-Verse. So, I mean, it would have been a while before this even got off the ground. That was probably in discussion. Also, I promise you, after his contract is up, if Sony doesn't pay up, someone's going to pay him a lot of money to do this and to do this type of animation somewhere else. Whether that's Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or whatever that is, someone's going to pay him to do this. Also, the biggest, and this might be a different perspective. I think this would have been the worst decision for the DCU. I think this would have been the worst decision for the DCU because, I mean, let's just be real. This movie would have been massively successful. And because of that, it would have probably pushed the execs at Warner Bros. To push James Gunn to make this a part of his actual universe. And I think that's probably not the best option right now for James Gunn. And to be honest, guys, I think James Gunn needs to take this time to rebuild the DCU live action And making a project like this would throw the DCU off track. I'm not just being honest, because what's going to happen is this movie is going to be super fire, and then people are going to want this in live action, and the execs are going to push for it. Imagine if Disney made that Spider-Verse film. You and I both know that Miles Morales would have already been in the MCU already, and
And
that
No
and
Way
that
Home would have been a completely different story.
yes, and that might have ruined what would have happened, what is happening right now with the Spider-Verse movies. So that is my fear, because when you get movies like this that do very well in animation, when you're looking at the mind of execs, right? All the execs look at is money and customer feedback. And if all of their customers are saying we want Batman Beyond, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to try to push James Gunn to put Batman Beyond, and James Gunn will probably quit.
Yeah. And listen, not everything has to be a part of the shared universe. I'm happy that they're not putting the Joker movies into the shared universe, because we know that would be a nightmare. And I would be more than happy to get a Batman Beyond standalone animated movie, and if it's successful, make it a trilogy.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
would
yeah.
be that. And by the way, you know what they could do if they do that? If it's successful, they do a trilogy. And then by that point, you're 3 Batman movies deep, you're 3 Batman Beyond movies deep. They exist in separate universes, and both IPs are running successfully. Then you could do a multiverse movie and cross it over. But the multiverse excuse to shift an origin story at the inception of an IP, I don't like.
Exactly. And I also think that like you're also abusing your Batman, because we already have the Batman with Robert Pattinson. Then we're getting another, Batman movie with, the Bat family. And then not to mention all these characters are going to go into the animated universe as well. So I mean, it's just a lot of Batman going on. And look, fans aren't going to get tired of it, obviously. But if I'm the distributor, this is my opinion. This can wait 5 to 10 years. Not going to lie. Let the DC run its course. Let the DCU do its thing, and then you can add a Batman Beyond or whoever, and try to build up your animation. And not to say that they're not going to build it up, because James Gunn said everything's going to be interconnected. But let the futuristic stuff come in the future.
Also, keep in mind that there are a lot of people that have it out for DC. They do not like DC. They do not like Warner Brothers. And the only thing that they'll be happy with is Zack Snyder butchering the DC characters, which means they don't really like DC anyway.
Yep. That's so like look, the Batman Beyond movie is like in the old model that they were doing, perfect idea, because that was the time to do a one-off movie. But going into a shared universe, this is not the best idea.
Yeah.
Right now. So
And people just
and
don't
look,
people don't think things through. They just
yo,
see it and they're like, oh my god, and like, yeah, dope. But listen, people are the same people who are talking about DC fumbling for not making this movie don't believe that DC can handle making Batman the Brave and the Bold and the Batman at the same time.
exactly.
The irony
And,
is
and so now you want to add on a third movie? Like, come on, bro. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
and this is why, like, as fans, like, I have learned to check my emotions and think with logic, because there are times where stuff sounds good. It sounds amazing to have a Batman Beyond film, but you also got to take a look at the roles of the studio and where the universe is at, and where it's at right now. I'm telling you guys, Batman Beyond would be really bad for the DCU at the moment.
The
Trust.
number one priority is the DCU, and anyone that tries to advocate for anything getting in the way of that and claims to be a DC fan, to put it nicely, is a clown.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, if the Spider-Verse will be the worst thing for the MCU, I'm telling you, it would, because they will push all of their plans back for the Spider-Verse, and that's not the smart decision, but that's what executives do. They go with what fans like. and that can sometimes be a gift and a curse. So, all right, now let's get to some other news with DC. So we have a update on the Green Lantern project. Comic Cuts, I know you're pretty excited to hear about this. So
Yes.
here we go. Update on the Lanterns from Daniel RPK says this: Nathan Fillion will reprise his role as Guy Gardner. Damon Lindelof is in talks to produce, and Chris Mundy and Tom King will write the show.
Fire. You know, I'm a big Tom King fan, so that's awesome to hear. Nathan Fillion, Guy Gardner, he's legit. I really want to know who's going to play Hal and John Stewart. Listen, Guy Gardner's important, but this show is, I mean, the castings for Hal and John are so important. And, you know, I also just don't think that, like,
Love you, bro.
It's crazy to me that people aren't focused on this project, because this is crazy. The fact that we're getting a Green Lantern Corps show with Hal and John, and it's going to be like in this true detective style, is wild. This is going to be pure fire, and the fact that they put someone like Tom King in there is legit. Listen, I know there are a lot of fans out there that complain about Tom King. Why? Like, I don't get the Tom King slander. Tom King is a very talented writer. He wrote one of the best Batman runs of all time. He wrote a really well-received Supergirl run. I didn't read it just because I don't read Supergirl comics. No shade to those who do, just not my character. You know, but listen, Tom King he's a great writer, and he was also like worked for the CIA, and he gets really into psychology and stuff. So he's someone that brings a very different perspective to these characters. And that's what was so cool about his Batman run. It was very deep into the psychology of Batman. And I remember, you know, people complained about that, and it was like, Tom King doesn't get Batman. Aren't all the best Batman stories about Batman's deep psychology? So how the hell does Tom King not get Batman? I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Awesome. And by the way, this is another win on the part of James Gunn, because, you know, there's another stupid complaint that goes around where it's like, oh, James Gunn, you know, he is giving too many jobs to himself. And it's like, yeah, first of all, James Gunn knows what he's doing, and he's proven himself time and time again, number one. So I'm happy with him directing projects. But James Gunn is also not an egomaniac, and he knows the comic world so well that he's putting the right people in the right places. And the fact that Tom King is in the room here is another huge W on James Gunn's handling of the DCU. So those who know and are seeing this are happy with it. And listen, everything's looking really good for the DCU.
A lot of people don't understand that Kevin Feige, starting with the MCU, he had a blank slate. There wasn't really an expectation that he had to reach. So he was able to use, to have loose, Marvel theology, that's what I'll call it, or Marvel lore to an extent, and have people like Jon Favreau and the Russos be able to land those. With James Gunn, he has to be by the book because he's using, an IP that's been remade a lot of times. So having the comic writers in the room to write the scripts, that's why I also like having Chris Mundy, because you have the best of both worlds. You have someone that's in the comic world, and you also have someone that's written shows before. And also having Damon Lindelof is another really big deal, because let's talk about it. Star Wars fired him. He wrote the script for the Star Wars Rey movie, which he wasn't even going to have Rey in the movie. He was going to have Helen Mirren play an older Rey, which would have been fire, by the way. Mm-hmm. She's a great actress, a legend. I can't believe they had her as a villain in Shazam. Insane to me. But anyways, she was going to be an older Rey, and they fired him. So I am happy that, James Gunn is getting people in the room like him now. The Lindelof does have a really good track record. He produced shows like The Lost, and he's done a lot of good projects like that. So this guy knows what he's doing. And so really excited. So like if this team is official, having a team like this in the room is really going to make some really good content for the Green Lantern for the Green Lantern lore and for the Green Lantern brand. Super happy about this.
The other thing that I forgot to mention is back to the psychology piece with Tom King. Like, this show is going to be groundbreaking because you're going to get a Green Lantern Corps show that is with the style of True Detective, with a guy made by a guy who has a passion for psychology. I mean, this is going to be like a dark, gritty, noir, interspace, galactic detective show. Okay. And that's what I mean when I say something like groundbreaking, because no one has ever seen anything like this. And the fact is that, you know, I talk about spectacle a lot. When you're making superhero projects, spectacle is important, you know. That's why people care about the suit, the action. But when you have you know, a white guy and a black guy in these Green Lantern suits flying around to other planets, like, that is going to be very well received by everyone. And listen, the Green Lanterns are like, it's one of my favorite parts of DC, and I just think that they're going to win so many people over, because I have friends that I know that, you know, got into Marvel, some of them like through COVID, or they have a girlfriend that they watch movies with, and they're not comic book fans. They're not like, they don't geek out over it the way Stevie and I do. But when a show like Daredevil comes on, they watch it, they get it, and they love it. And you have a lot of people out there like that who the only reason they know who Green Lantern is because of that bad Ryan Reynolds movie, right? And I think that this is going to be so well received in a way that people don't expect. And I think it's going to be similar to the way Daredevil and The Punisher were received on Netflix.
Yeah, I am really, and I also like the fact that they're using Guy Gardner, because, you know, watching Batman, the Brave and the Bold, the animated show, Guy Gardner was used a lot of that, and that's kind of how I, you know, became a Guy Gardner fan. So having someone that's not just Hal and John, like another human, and obviously he's more of a nut, he's more like a funny guy. I think a lot of fans are going to really be Guy Gardner fans as well. But you are right, Hal and John are the bread and butter of the Green Lantern, and I think someone like John Stewart is going to be really big, man. I don't know why, but he's that's going to be a big character.
By the way,
wish Denzel. What happened?
Damson Idris would make a great John Stewart.
Or John David. I like John David as John Stewart. That might be fire too. I wish that a young Denzel would be perfect as John Stewart, man. Oh, I wish, man.
Someone like John David would be great. I feel like the prospects of the actor change because it's a TV series and not a movie. And I feel like John David Washington, like, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of
do it.
He might. There are A-list stars that do TV series. I think Woody Harrelson was in not True Detective. What was it called? Maybe it was True Detective. I think he was in one of the True Detective series or something similar. There are big actors that do shows like that, but I feel like they do it once they're already super successful. And I feel like John David Washington is an A-list. I feel like he's already an A-list actor, but he's not a full household name yet. And I think that if he already was, I think he would be more comfortable to take that show. I could be wrong. You know, I don't know the guy at all. I don't know how he thinks, but that's how I think.
I mean, it could even be different, bro, because I mean, this Green Lantern is going to be in the movies as well, not just the TV shows. So
that's true too.
I'm thinking about. All right, let's get into some Spider-Man stuff. We got back-to-back Spider-Man topics. So Sony is developing more Spider-Man animated films. I think this is a really good thing to hear, and I would love to. I would love to see something to where Sony puts all their money into their animation and backs away from the live action. Because look, Madam Web was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. And like not, and it wasn't the fact that it was so bad. It was just no, it was bad. I ain't gonna lie, it was bad. It was bad. It was boring. Even the shots and stuff were terrible. And even with Craven, another movie that's most likely going to be bad. Um, I think for right now, Sony should just stick with what's working, which is the animation, and build out your animated universe. It is not normal that an animated movie is making this kind of money. This is a special thing that they are building.
It's
And
groundbreaking.
yes, and bro, and Jerry, if I'm Sony, I'm paying this guy that's doing that Spider-Verse. I'm paying him 50 million, and you can make like you have a 12 movie contract, build out the Spider Universe. You can do whatever you want. I think that's what they should do, and that's the direction that they should go. I would just really just do away with the live action and just save your live action for your Marvel and Sony collaborations, and go that way.
First of all, I would like to see other characters other than Spider-Man in this animation style. I know Marvel is never going to sell the rights to characters again. For those of you that don't know, they sold the rights to characters in the 90s, or I think maybe even in the early 2000s, but I'm pretty sure it's late 90s. They were on the cusp of bankruptcy and they couldn't do anything else. And Stevie and I were talking about this the other day. They sold the right to Spider-Man to Sony, and they tried to sell other characters to Sony. And Sony, and I made the analogy, it's kind of like Adidas in the early 80s or the mid 80s when, they were presented with Michael Jordan wanted to work with Adidas, and Adidas, seeing Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, they didn't get the power forward thing. They didn't think Michael Jordan was going to be a hit. They were like, Adidas is a German company. So they were like, no, we want a center. We want a star. That's how they saw the star, the center. And with Sony, Japanese guys, they're not in America. They didn't get comic book culture. They knew Spider-Man was a hit because they love Spider-Man in Japan, if you don't know. And they were like, no, we only want Spider-Man. And it was like they paid a bulk of money for Spider-Man, and for a little bit more, they could have gotten the rights to like all the other characters in the Marvel Universe. And
Thank God they didn't.
Yeah. But listen, a lot of people love crapping all over Sony lately. I'm a 90s kid, okay? I grew up with the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. I didn't grow up with, but I still love the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. And, they had a hand in the MCU trilogy, and we have the Spider-Verse movies. Yes, the villain spin-off universe has been horrendous. They had one decent movie, and the rest of it has been trash. And obviously that one decent movie is Venom. And, it is somewhat damaging to the reputation of these characters. I don't know, actually, because, listen, how the Green Lantern movie was horrible. Nobody thought that did Green Lantern, no one thought it damaged the IP of Green Lantern. So here's the thing. I think that the best thing forward would be for Sony to finish out this Spider-Verse movie, franchise with their another 2 movies, whether, Marvel sells renews the rights for them to just keep it in the animated space. But other than that, I would support the rights going back to Marvel. But here's the bad news, guys. No matter how much we debate about it on X, Twitter, isn't going to change a thing. Sony, for whatever reason, wants to hold on to this IP. And it might be because of the animated universe, and they make these spin-off movies to justify having it, which some people argue, which, I don't know how they know the terms of the deal. But if you think that Marvel hasn't tried to get the full rights back to Spider-Man at all, you're out of your mind. Okay.
Yeah, Feige has tried for decades now.
Yeah. And Sony is not budging. Okay. Sony,
and let's be honest, bro. And let's be honest. If you were the president of Sony, you wouldn't either.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's Spider-Man we're talking about, the most popular
and,
character of all time.
And by the way, you know what else we get out of the Sony Spider-Man franchise? The Spider-Man games. And we've had 3 great games. You know, I have some complaints about the most recent one, but I still enjoyed all 3 of them. And we're getting more. So, yes, the spin-off movies have been horrible. But aside from that, we've gotten a lot of good stuff from the Sony Spider-Man franchise. And I think it's in short-sightedness or bad memory to just say that, you know, the Sony has mishandled Spider-Man is the best managed character in the game, period. Bar none. No one comes even close. And Sony had a large hand in that.
I think he is by default because he has so many projects to his name, but I'm not going to debate this road.
But regardless, that's part. Those projects in his name are part of the character management. Like, the more projects you have that land of a character and they keep consistently coming out. I mean, if you're a kid that, you know, was born in, say, 2008 and you grow up with TASM 1, the Amazing Spider-Man 1, Amazing Spider-Man 2, the Spider-Verse movies, the trilogy, and the video games, I mean, you've had, like, almost every year an awesome Spider-Man project. Like, you grew up on consistent fire Spider-Man your whole life. You don't not like Spider-Man because Madam Web sucked. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think that outside of movies, Sony has managed them well, and that's where I think so. And if I'm Sony, I think Sony just needs to stick to their strengths, because the reality is that they don't have to sell their whole entire Spider-Man property. They can just sell the live action rights to, you know, Disney, or just keep doing what they're doing. I think Sony can make more bang for their buck, bro, if they just shop all these characters to the MCU and just do what they're doing with Spider-Man. Like, if I'm Amy Pascal, I'm like, why can't they just focus on the video games where they're making billions of dollars? Also focus on the animated shows. Yeah, the animated Spider-Verse where they're making another lump sum of money. Like, an animated movie doing almost 500 million is insane. And you just take the live action rights, you take Craven and all these characters, and allow Kevin Feige to keep using them like they've been doing with Spider-Man. So you're making profit everywhere. In my opinion, I think they're wasting money, keep trying to make this live action thing work. It's not working. Kevin Feige took what you've done. He took all the Spider-Man stuff and has quadrupled it. I mean, he's literally quadrupled it in box office numbers and in hype. I mean, this dude literally brought back Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. And Andrew Garfield would have never came back if Sony was trying to do this. And also casting Tom Holland, which is probably going, and Tom Holland's probably going to go down as the greatest casting in superhero history at this point, because that's all I'm seeing on X. So, you know, I think that Feige is very responsible for Spider-Man, because I do think today Spider-Man is bigger than he's ever been. I really think that. And and we're going to go to the next topic where we're going to talk about Miles and all of that jazz. But, you know, man, I really do think that Sony and the live action needs to just let Marvel Studios do their thing and just keep doing helping them write the movie, which Sony does. They help write the movie. They help cover the production costs with Marvel. I don't see why they can't just do that with all their other characters. When these Spider-Man films,
they got to drop the villain spinoffs. That I agree with.
Because, bro, the MCU films have been doing $1 billion back to back. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you know, I pretty much buy my tickets the day they come out for every movie, and I'm a big sneaker collector, and I've been a big sneaker collector since the early 2000s. So I am very experienced when it comes to a product releasing online and everyone trying to buy it at the same time. I have never, ever seen a movie ticket sale go down the way it did for Spider-Man No Way Home. I mean, I was on the internet for I think almost 45 minutes.
I was up until 3 a.m. Like it was down.
I don't even think
hours.
I got it. I woke up that morning at 7:30, whatever, and I got it right away. But that day, I that night it was like I was trying to watch TV and I couldn't. I was obsessing.
Guess
And
what
I couldn't
happened to
get the
me?
tickets.
Guess what happened to me? No, look. So basically, I would get to choosing the seat, right? Then when I would check out, it would keep going back to the seat screen. So I thought, hey, maybe it's just putting back. So, bro, I literally bought like almost 30 seats on the opening night.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So I literally had to go to Cinemark and refund like 25 seats because it was for five of my friends, but I just kept buying it because I kept thought it was making me go back. But I literally bought 30 seats and I saw the charge. I'm like, dang, why was it like $300? Like, I was salty.
Yeah. But you got to hand it to Sony and Marvel because, like I've said, and I've said it many times on the show. Listen, there is not a character in the game better managed than Spider-Man. And what we were just talking about with Batman, like, you said yourself, you think if Batman were to do the Batman Part 2, Batman the Brave and the Bold, and a Batman Beyond animated, you think that would be too much. I don't know. I think they might be able to pull it off, but the point is, people think that's too much Batman, but when it comes to Spider-Man, they're basically doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it would kind of sort of.
Listen, I agree that they need to focus on the DCU, and this Batman Beyond thing should not be the priority. But aside from all that, it's funny because like 2 days ago, I was thinking this. I was like, I would love to see an animated movie in the Spider-Verse style with like Daredevil or Moon Knight. And I think that people only think about these characters that take place in these cool futuristic settings because, obviously Miles Morales with the Spider-Verse movies and the multiverse and Batman Beyond is in the future. But I think, if you look at the art style of Jorge Jimenez, Batman, specifically in the James Tynion Batman comics, it's such a good example of how a dark city like Gotham could use neon lights and kind of look like that Batman Beyond style where Gotham, but be lit up in a way that looks beautiful in an animated universe, and it's not just dark and broody. And I think that you could do something like that with a street level character like Daredevil or Moon Knight. And I think that would be really cool. And I think, Moon Knight was such a cool show. And I wrote about this on an Instagram post recently. I really love Moon Knight, but I think it would have been received better if they did the origin, like if they just did him street level and treated him like a normal superhero and then did the origin first, because I think people needed to buy it on Moon Knight. Anyway, I'm kind of ranting, but I think, I think that I would like to see more animated movies similar to Spider-Verse with other characters. And I think that the people making the movies should think about it for wider use.
I disagree because I think that Spider-Verse works because Spider-Man is a big character. I think I do agree that they should use more of the animation, but yeah, you can only do it for the bigger characters. Because I only think that I think that it will lose what makes it special. Spider-Verse works not because only because of the fact that Miles Morales is a big hero, and then they went even crazier to bring Spider-Man 2099, which is one of the biggest Spider-Man characters of all time. So they Spider-Verse is going big, and Batman Beyond would work because they're going big, having the Bruce Wayne in the Batman Beyond. So I mean, so if we're talking Superman story, a Val Zod, that's not going to work, in a made style. I think a Val Zod would do better in live action, but doing a variant Clark Kent story, I think that would be big.
Big lore. The character needs big lore, and it works with Spider-Man because there are so many rogue Spider-Men. And with Batman Beyond has his own rogues, and he also has Batman's rogues.
There's only one B to C-list DC character that I think would do big, and that is Static Shock. That's probably the only hero I see that in that animation style would kill.
I still think Daredevil. I think they can pull it off.
Yeah, but I mean, they already have the live action, and I think that's good enough for him. I think that like a character, like the only lower character I think is, I mean, I think Static Shock will be perfect for this type of animation style, and I wouldn't be shocked if we get Static Shock soon because there's been a lot of talks about him lately. And do you like Static Shock or not?
You know, like he's cool. I can't say I'm so familiar with him. You know, I think he's come up in like some Justice League stories and whatnot, but I don't know him so well to say if I would want an animated movie of his or not.
Bet. Yeah,
I definitely think they'd have an easier time selling the Daredevil animated movie than they would a Static Shock. And I think a character like Daredevil, you know,
I don't think it would do good in theaters, man. I really don't.
I don't think it's the time for it. But I think that if they after Daredevil Born Again, like I could see that being something.
I don't know. Because you have to follow this.
It might not do well, but I just think it would look so cool. Like Daredevil is the perfect character for that setting visually. That's all I'm saying.
It would definitely look cool, but you definitely got to follow what the Spider-Verse did. Like the opposite of Spider-Verse is Batman Beyond. So he had his eyes on straight. So all right,
he's not the opposite, but parallel.
My bad.
Yeah,
exactly. So to get on to some other Sony news, and then will be it with Spider-Man news. Sony, aka Amy Pascal, who's the president, she said that she wants Feige to be involved with the live-action Miles Morales. What is your viewpoint on her making that very clear to the public when talking about Miles coming to the live action?
I think it's important. I think it's great. This is another notch in proving that Sony still does a lot of good. Like Kevin Feige absolutely needs to be involved in bringing Miles Morales over into live action, and it should be an MCU movie. Listen, Miles Morales, like you always say, is like this generation's top guy, and he is going to go down as one of the biggest superheroes of all time. When you think about the success of Black Panther, this live action Miles Morales version of Black Panther should be Black Panther's success on steroids, because you have the representation piece that obviously, is taken very seriously for good reason. And you also have, a better known character. Black Panther, nobody outside of comics, no one knew who Black Panther was before the Black Panther movie. And that's not to minimize Black Panther. I'm a big Black Panther fan. I think Stevie said it last week. He's one of my favorite characters. But Black Panther's popularity before Black Panther isn't even comparable to Miles Morales' popularity, thanks to Sony and the Spider-Verse movies. So, because the fandom for Miles Morales already exists and MCU is obviously so popular, this live action movie is going to be an absolute home run. And in order for it to be, you need someone like Kevin Feige and the top talent involved in this kind of project. And I really think that the best way to do it, I think they should take the Miles Morales from the Spider-Verse movies and cross him over. Sell the same exact animated Spider-Man and put him into live action, cross him over into the MCU universe, and put an actor in the suit and, call it a day.
100% agree. By the way, this guy, Gardner News, is going all around right now on Twitter. So,
what? Is he tweeting us?
No. Just this whole Green Lantern news about Nathan Fillion coming back and about Lindelof. But I also forgot to say Lindelof is really big for the Watchmen also. All right, Back to this Feige one Spider-Man, bro. I 100% agree with everything you said. Feige is the king of Marvel. I would like to say at this point he has more impact than Stan Lee himself on the freaking Marvel content. And I mean, I'm just being honest. And I think that,
bro, Marvel was very successful before movies for a very long time, a much longer time than Kevin Feige.
yeah, I'm not talking time though. I'm talking about like as in like the reach of Marvel. I think
That's
the
fair.
reach of Marvel is like Marvel was already big, but Kevin Feige has made it like a universal movement. You know what I mean? And obviously we're in the downtimes now, but like in the prime of Marvel, I don't, bro. And I do think the DCU is going to hit, but I don't think we might not ever see what Marvel did. You know,
like when Avengers Infinity War came out and every single meme you saw was the dust.
like that, like, bro, we might have lived through the greatest cinematic time ever. I mean, the closest thing might have been Empire Strikes Back. You know, maybe I don't know. Or maybe Dark Knight. Dark Knight might have been maybe the closest thing to a cinematic movement.
The sad reality is that after these next two Avengers movies come out, we might not live through another period that sees an Avengers movie get wide distribution in movie theaters. Imagine that.
Well, dude, I heard that Feige's moving to Star Wars after he's done.
Oh, please no.
And basically, he's going to save the Star Wars universe. Will be very interesting because apparently
leave that to Dave Filoni. Leave that to Dave Filoni.
Yeah, but he's not the guy to he's not the guy to steer the ship. If that like, he's not James Gunn, bro. He's not James Gunn. I think he'll be awesome. But yeah, I think Feige will be great to take on Star Wars and to lead them. You know, that's kind of how I feel.
By the way, you know what's funny? I didn't find a clip of his to include in our segment today, but that account that I sent you, he was like freaking out over Star Wars theory or someone else saying that women don't really watch Star Wars. He was like,
facts.
So
check the stats.
Check the stats.
Check the stats.
Listen, obviously some women do, but most it's like 98% men.
Yeah, but who is he playing? Who is he talking about? Who's playing?
Are you? Yeah. What's up, the dough?
What's up, man? How are you doing? Well, who's playing who though?
I think you're talking about Miles Morales, and we don't know who's going to be playing him. That's like
we
miles away. No pun intended.
And there's been no talks of who's going to be cast at all. Everybody says Jada Smith, but Jada Smith is too old. All right, so let's get into the next topic. So let's talk about some Blade. Oh wait, I think he commented back. Oh, Henry Cavill. So basically the roles that we think Henry Cavill could possibly play is we really want him to play Cyclops. He's our number one. That's our number one role. But he could play Sentry. He could play Doctor Doom. He could play Wolverine. Captain Captain Britain?
Captain Britain.
So you know the roles for him is like kind of up in the air. He can pretty much do anything he wants because it's Henry Cavill.
We really want Cyclops, and stay tuned to our YouTube page because we're gonna upload the clip where we had that entire conversation. So if you're just tuning in now and you missed that segment, you'll get to see the whole conversation. But if you missed something and you think we touched on it, we're happy to answer. So, don't hesitate to comment another question again. But
for sure.
Just want to let you know that clip will be there for you as well.
Exactly. And our full covering of that will be out on Friday. So you'll be able to see on Friday, like the whole entire thing. Cause we had a long convo about that because we love Henry Cavill around here. All right. So Blade, let's give an update on Blade. So this is good news. Blade is going to be delayed another year, 2026, because Feige is kind of really focusing on projects that he has now with reshoots with Captain America, Brave New World, et cetera, et cetera. And the good news is that Mahershala Ali is very happy with the script. So what happened before was that Mahershala Ali was very upset with the script because Blade was going to be a backup in his own film. It was going to be about these female vampires, and then Blade was going to play like a backseat character. And I mean, you and I both know Mahershala Ali is a A-list actor, and he's like, what the heck is going on? There's no way. So, they got to change the script. I've heard rumors that like Mahershala Ali has been reading almost every Blade comic. He's really deep. They have Wesley
Awesome.
Snipes helping out with the fight choreography, and having Wesley Snipes is also cool. So I think that this is going to be a really special project. How do you feel about Blade being delayed a year?
Listen, we have such a stacked 2025, and Blade is an awesome character that doesn't get enough love. So I'm fine with it. I think it's going to be cool. I think this era of darker comics, darker characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is long overdue. Obviously, they were hesitant for obvious reasons with, prime audiences, children. But yeah, I don't have a problem with it being delayed. I think that it's important that everyone bought in. And thank God that there's an actor there that's pushing against them being sidelined in their own movies by another female. I'm so tired of that. It's so frustrating. And in my view, that's what tanked Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, you can have a movie called Blade and it's about other vampires. It's not like that's dumb. Blade is a really big character, bro. Blade is a really big character, and you can't like, and an actor like Mahershala Ali, it's not normal that you get an actor of that caliber to sign on for a movie. It's not normal.
And also it's like representation is so important up until we're gonna sideline Blade for females, but we're gonna call the movie Blade. Like, what is this, a circus?
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's stupid. Like you can't Blade is like one of the best characters of Marvel, honestly. I mean, if we're talking about a fighter that's just a savage, I mean, this is a smashed. He's basically the John Wick of the MCU. Like you can't fumble that, bro. You can't fumble that.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's actually a great way to talk about Blade. He's the John Wick of the MCU. He is. He is.
Yeah. I mean, he just fucking goes around killing everyone. The action scenes are like out of John Wick, but with a sword.
Dude, Blade's gonna be freaking awesome. Oh my god. Oh man. Oh, yeah. I might come to New York to see that one, dude. Oh, dude.
Bro,
by the way, I am coming up to see Deadpool, bro.
Yo, let's do it. I'll buy us tickets for the Dolby Cinema.
Say that. All right, Hungry Almighty wanted to talk about Jon Stewart, so I'll let you do this. He said, I know the main characters of the Lantern show is Hal and John, but honestly, I have a feeling that Hal will be the main Lantern because the pig gun showed was Earth 1 and Hal was the main of that.
So what's interesting there is that there is an Earth 1 picture of John, but he was a Yellow Lantern in that picture. I didn't read the story. He might be a Yellow Lantern in that story. For those of you that don't know, Earth 2 is Prime Earth in the DC Comics universe. So Earth 2, which is also called Prime Earth, same exact Earth, is the main universe, exactly what 616 is in the Marvel Comics. Earth 1 is another Earth, and they made a series of comics which were like slight changes to the characters and their origins on Earth 1. And the James Gunn art that he used when he was unveiling his slate for Hal Jordan was from that Earth 1 comic. I don't think it meant anything other than him choosing the art, because the art for that Earth 1 was fire. And I don't think it means that we're not going to get a lot of John. They're not making this. The show is called Green Lantern Corps, and it's not called Green Lantern. I don't think that they're going to spotlight one over the other. Obviously, I could be wrong. This is pure speculation, but I'm pretty faithful that what I'm saying is accurate.
All right, I feel like Sony can really benefit off of doing two Spider-Man franchises. I mean, DC is doing it. Why can't Sony Spider-Man? Batman are way too popular to be restricted to just one version, in my opinion. So I do agree that Sony can really benefit off of doing two Spider-Man franchises because they're doing it right now. You know, we do have the MCU Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse, which are two great things.
And then the video games.
Yeah, and the video games as well. I mean, that's three franchises, and it is really good. Now, I do disagree with Batman, though. I do. And the reason
on
why
the Beyond piece, on the Beyond piece.
yes, yes. And the reason why I do not agree with that is because Spider-Man is secreted in the MCU. Batman is not secreted in the DCU. And I think that fans have to grow to love this new Batman that we are going to get. If you are to release this Batman anytime where we are getting an entry into the DCU Batman, this could ruin that Batman character very bad. Very bad. And also, let's also talk about this, the fact that the Batman 2 could also be playing that factor as well, because I mean, you also have to take this into account. We might be getting freaking Dick Grayson in the Batman 2. Okay? The Batman 2 couldn't arguably be one of the greatest Batman movies of all time. And depending on the way that Matt Reeves plays this, it's going to be really hard for the DC Batman to, get on his races. And a part of me doesn't agree with that because, we are utilizing the Bat family. So it's going to be a different version of Batman. But like, you have to take a look in the eyes of the executive and put yourself in their shoes, right? If James Gunn is trying to make the DCU Batman hit, Batman Beyond could really hinder that succession. Versus when it comes to the Spider-Man, people love Tom Holland. Tom Holland is the most loved Spider-Man of all time. And Miles Morales too. So
it's tricky when you put out product that competes against the same product, because naturally you're going to stunt at, it's almost like an incursion. You're going to either hurt one of them or hurt both of them.
That was a great analogy. Analogy. So yeah. That's actually a really great analogy. Wow, that was deep. All right, right, that was deep. Sorry, it just hit me. It just hit me. Anyways,
I got to save that for a tweet.
Yeah,
I got to get that off soon, actually, before anyone jacks it.
Here, all right, this is a joke. Bro is woke. Bro's awoke. Bro's awoken.
Yeah, awake, not woke.
Bro is awoken. Bro's awake. Bro
awake,
is up.
not
Bro is
woke.
awakened.
I should change my username to Never Woke.
Or no, Comic Awakening.
Never woke, never broke.
Yeah, never woke, never broke. We are just awakened. All right. Anyways, some good news. Simu Liu confirms that director for Shang-Chi 1 is back. This is all. I mean, look, this is really good news. Shang-Chi is a really good movie. It's a shame that we haven't gotten a sequel already, which is really sad. But all in all, we are super happy about Shang-Chi, coming back, and I'm excited to see what more he can do now with the 10 rings. How do you feel about this?
So Simu Liu, listen, great actor. Guy's got charisma. I'm not big on the award shows, but I happen to be watching the People's Choice Awards. I was with my parents the other night, and I don't know if he was presenting, hosting, or whatever, but he spoke and he was great. Shang-Chi is one of the best MCU movies post Endgame, and he's such a great character. And it's every time I think of him, I'm reminded, like, it's crazy that we haven't seen him since Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi came out, I'm pretty sure in 2021. We're 3 years later, and he hasn't even been in a post-credit scene. What the hell is going on? Like, a Shang-Chi post-credit scene would be much more valuable to the MCU than a couple episode series of She-Hulk. Seriously, like
100%
where
agree.
the hell is this guy? It's great that he's back, because one thing that movie also really got right was the action. The action was so good. Specifically, I mean, throughout the whole movie, but like that one scene with the rings, you know, when he's fighting his father at the end of the movie. I mean, that was crazy. That's
Maybe
what I'm
one of the
talking
best third
about.
acts. Maybe one of the best third acts that we've ever seen in a solo film.
Fair. That's what I'm talking about when I say spectacle is important with these movies. So it's great that that director is back. He obviously works great with Simu Liu. He obviously works great with Aquafina, who was amazing in that movie. You know, I don't know why people dislike her, by the way. I think she's great.
She's
Um,
amazing, amazing
yeah,
actress.
yeah.
She's always been great. I'm
And
actually
she's got
upset that
charisma too.
I'm actually upset that the director is off of Avengers 5 because I was very fond of him directing Kang Dynasty as well.
Me
I
too.
really wanted him to direct that movie.
No.
Vidal said Shang-Chi was so good. Agreed, brother. The She-Hulk was so bad. Oh man, probably the worst Marvel project that we've seen to date so far. I'll actually no, Madam Web is the worst, but this is like runner up. All right. Now we're going to react to some tweets here. Let's pull this up. So first we have this. It says this: the rumored Midnight Suns lineup that will appear in their upcoming film is reportedly in the works. Michael Giacchino is set to direct the project. The team will start to form during Marvel Studios' Blade film, and the list is Doctor Strange, Scarlet Witch, Blade, Moon Knight, Elsa Bloodstone, Man Thing, Werewolf by Night, and Black Knight. Now, remember, Doctor Strange is being played by Benedict Cumberbatch, Scarlet Witch played by Elizabeth Olsen, Blade played by Mahershala Ali, Moon Knight played by what's the dude's name? It was just in my head.
Oscar Isaac.
Yeah, Oscar Isaac. I don't think there's a casting for Elsa Bloodstone yet. But we have seen Werewolf by Night in his own Marvel special, which, by the way, Werewolf by Night was fire. And Black Knight, which is played by Kit Harington. Kit Harington was Jon Snow in the Game of Thrones series. So how do you feel about this casting?
That we need to see sooner. I kind of think that this lineup is too deep, you know? Listen, the one thing about the MCU right now, it feels like they're introducing a lot of characters that are just not necessary, and they could easily drop Elsa Bloodstone and Man Thing, and this list would be fire. You know, I'm still decent, but like, why keep Elsa Bloodstone and Man Thing? There's no reason for it.
I agree. Who's your favorite character out of this slate?
It's tough because I really, really like Doctor Strange, Blade, and Moon Knight. It's really tough. I would probably go Doctor Strange, Moon Knight, Blade, and then I would rank Black Knight and Werewolf by Night at the end.
I forgot that Elsa Bloodstone is the chick from Werewolf by Night. Totally forgot about that.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, that was the girl that had on the red coat. I think that this cast is awesome. I would love Wolverine to be in this as well, and Ghost Rider too.
Like, right.
Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider should be.
Why has Man Thing and not Ghost Rider?
Yeah, that's kind of corny.
Yeah,
I think that's whack. All right, next slide. Okay. Deadpool, Wolverine, Spider-Man, Reed Richards, Captain America, Shang-Chi, and Black Panther will reportedly be the lead heroes in Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. The TVA are also playing a huge role in this film. Marvel Studios' Deadpool and Wolverine will play a big part going into the Kang Dynasty. Spider-Man 4 and Shang-Chi will also directly set up Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. Scripts are rumored to be in progress.
Fire. I mean, we have been talking about the Avengers roster and worrying about that roster for so long. And if this is the roster going into Kang Dynasty, that is fire. That is fire. All of those characters are awesome. They all deserve to be there. And we're not talking about stupid characters like She-Hulk and America Chavez. Okay. This is what I'm talking about.
Agreed. I would love to see Reed be the lead though. And that's kind of like, and
He
as I
should
am,
be. He
yeah,
should be.
and as I'm reading, as I'm reading more comics, Reed Richards has to be the lead of this project. He has to be.
I mean, Reed Richards is that guy, you know?
Yeah. He is slowly, bro, I'll be honest, he's slowly becoming my favorite Marvel character of all time. Slowly.
He's easily up there. The best way, like, I could describe the vibes of the Fantastic Four is that it's kind of like Spider-Man meets Avengers. You know, you have like that fun, lighthearted, but yet deep feeling of Spider-Man, but you get the team and character dynamics of the Avengers.
Yeah. And as much as you don't like Pedro in that graphic that they posted, Marvel did land the theme perfectly. The theme, the colors, the background. I think that art is the perfect introduction to the Fantastic Four. Definitely that freaking poster, bro, with that 60s theme. I mean, that is just the most perfect theme to bring them into the MCU. I'm really excited for the Fantastic Four.
Me too. I still am excited for it. I'm hoping that Pedro surprises me, and I kind of think he will, because he's a phenomenal actor. You know, I also am a huge fan of The Thing. You know, I think that like people sleep on him so hard because it's so easy to look at the Fantastic Four and you have Reed, who's obviously the lead. He's brilliant. Then you have Johnny, who's like, you know, the silly but kind of dumb jock who everything kind of comes easy to. And obviously he's got the coolest powers of the four because he's the Human Torch. You have Sue Storm, who, you know, is beautiful and her powers are really cool. And then the Thing, who's just this rock, but he's also kind of funny like Johnny in a way. And he's got this buddy thing going on with Johnny, but he also carries the emotional depth to him. And because he carries that, a lot of times in the story, he adds a lot of the intellect to the team and brings out the winning moves. And he's also, like I said, he is like almost all the Fantastic Four stories that get emotionally deep. Like, he's the star.
Agreed. One thing I also want you to think about, you can talk about it whenever you want. Someone said, and I don't know if this is a reach or not, just think about it for the next couple minutes. Somebody said that after Robert Pattinson's Batman trilogy, he will be labeled, or he should be labeled, a better actor than Leonardo.
Pattinson.
And basically it started a Twitter thread of over like 300 people saying that Pattinson is a better actor than Leonardo DiCaprio.
Listen, I think Pattinson crushed it as Batman. However, bro, Leo, like the range of characters that he's played to the degree that he's not one of the goats. He is the goat.
Really?
Like, I think he is the greatest actor of all time. 100%. 100%. And you know I love Christian Bale, and I think Christian Bale is up there. I do. But you can't argue. The thing is like all the other actors, if you want to make an argument of them being better than Leo, you have to speculate. And with Leo, you don't, because there's always an example of him in a role, and he has done so many different types of roles, and every single one of them, he has delivered the best of the best every single time. Yeah. Leo is 100% the greatest actor of all time, no question. I don't even think anyone comes close.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone A can make an argument against that, and B, I don't think, and if they really know what they're talking about, I don't think they're doing it honestly.
The closest person is only Denzel. That's the only guy that's the only one. And he's not even a better actor than, he's not a better actor than Leo either, but that's the only man on earth that I could see that anyone could say is under him. Is someone close.
I would say in my top 5, in no specific order except for the number 1, I would say it is Leo is number 1. I would probably put in Denzel. I would put Christian Bale. I would say maybe De Niro.
Mm-hmm. Who's your 5?
Probably Al Pacino.
Do you know who would be a top 5 actor if they did more projects?
Who?
Daniel Craig.
That's a great one. But here's the thing. Here's the thing with Daniel Craig
if he were more active.
Here's the thing about Daniel Craig and Pattinson is they both nailed a top tier character like absolutely perfectly, but you don't have the examples of them showing range like you do with Leo, Denzel, Christian Bale, and that's where those arguments are going to fall flat.
Exactly. Because Knives Out to me was like, dang, Daniel Craig might be top 10 all time. But I'm like, nah, I have to see more out of him because Knives Out is literally an amazing movie.
By the way, when I met Daniel Craig, like I said to him, you know, I swear to God, I said this. I was like, you know, you might end up being the best Bond of all time, but it's kind of like LeBron. It's too early to tell right now. This was right after Quantum of Solace came out, which obviously was much earlier in LeBron's career, which, by the way, was actually not that early in his career. He's just been playing for so long. But you get the point. Like, and he was cool about it. He was like, thank you. I really appreciate it. I spoke to him for like 10 minutes. It was at a restaurant on New Year's Eve. And, you know, he saw my mom, who was smiling from ear to ear because she knew how happy I was. He was like, that's your mom. And he waved hi. He was cool as hell, like the nicest guy. And that's a dude that, like, after I met him, I was like, he deserves all the success he has. He is awesome.
Oh, yeah. I agree. All right. My top 5. Let's see. Obviously, Denzel and freaking, what's his name? And Leo. I mean, that's number 1. This is hard, bro. This is really hard.
I know. I have to revisit the top 5 because I don't know if De Niro and Pacino are on it. Because now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like they both play the same kind of role over and over again. Even though I love them both. But it's definitely Leo, Denzel, Christian Bale.
Yeah. This might be a reach, but I think Tom Cruise is one of the greatest actors of all time. And it is also because I have to put range in there, like because I do think Tom Cruise is the greatest action star of all time. That's just my personal opinion. So I think he would have to have a place in the top 5.
I agree. But
I don't know.
He doesn't have the range like everyone else, and he plays the same kind of character. I love him, and I don't, but like, you have to understand, like, when you think about Leo and you think about the movies he's done, and you think about The Departed, you think about
dang, I forgot about Brad Pitt and people like Cillian. Forgot about those type of people.
Oh, that too, bro. Cillian is gonna get there. But like when you think about Django, bro, and you think about Leo and Django, and then you think about him in Departed, and then you think about him in what's the island movie that I'm blanking on? Shutter Island. Like, he is so good in any role. There's no one that comes close to that has the range. And that's why, like, those top directors like Martin Scorsese, they always go back to Leo because they know they can count on him.
And the bias side of me also would say Johnny Depp. Because I think Johnny Depp is probably the most talented actor of all time. Just got dealt the wrong cards in his career.
It's a shame because he's a guy that he deserves to have his Martin Scorsese movie. And, Martin Scorsese, he said recently, my dad told me that he said this, so I don't know if he I don't think my dad would make it up, but I didn't see it for myself. But he was like, I'm really old and I don't have that much time left to live. So any movie I make now, I'm only going to make something if it's like really, really, really good and worth being made.
Yeah.
And when you think about that, and you think about a guy like Johnny Depp potentially not getting a movie with Martin Scorsese, who's considered the best drama director, period, it's crazy. And those are the kinds of consequences that come from unjust cancel culture. And I'm not saying that,
sure.
People don't deserve consequences if they did those kinds of things. But obviously that wasn't the case with Johnny Depp, and it's horrible.
Yeah, agreed. All right. Next tweet here.
And,
okay.
And don't twist my words because you didn't like what I said. Obviously, there are other very serious consequences involved. We're talking about in terms of
Johnny Depp got done dirty, and that's just the facts. Okay, so here we go. So a friend of the show, Slav, okay, this guy gets in the wars every day. Love him. I
love this guy.
Yeah. So DC Film News tweeted this. It said, the decision to end Superman and Lois came from Warner Bros. They don't want a competing Superman product in the marketplace. Brad Swartz, CW's president of entertainment, said, referring to James Gunn's Superman legacy sourced by The Wrap. So Slav said this. So what you're saying is Netflix has no chance at getting a live-action Snyderverse, as it will be competing against their main brand characters. Almost like I've been saying this for months and months. Slav is on point with this take. I mean, the thought that that Warner Brothers would even sell Superman rights to Netflix is literally insanity. And obviously, this is one of the reasons why Superman and Lois ended. Superman and Lois was a very popular show. And a lot of people say today that Tyler Hoechlin is the best Superman of all time. Yeah, one final season. A lot of people say that Tyler Hoechlin is the greatest Superman of all time. Most likely is, to be honest, because Henry Cavill did so dirty. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with everything Slav is saying. Anything you want to say here?
Yeah. Listen, I saw this tweet and I immediately sent it to Stevie, and, because this is something we say to each other on the show all the time. One brand can't put out competitive product that competes with its own product. Meaning, there's a reason that Air Jordan doesn't release 2 Air Jordan 5 colorways on the same day. You're naturally going to stunt the sales, success, performance of one, or you're going to stunt both. Like I said, it's like an incursion. You're either going to destroy one or destroy both. You're not going to help them. So obviously Netflix is not, DC, Warner Brothers isn't going to sell the DC rights of the Justice League characters for Netflix to take on the Snyderverse and do Justice League movies while DC is focused on their own DC universe and Justice League movies. Now, I know that the Snyder cult is going to be like, well, what about Batman? There's a difference because they had a commitment to make already, because when they decided to do the DCU, they already made a commitment to Matt Reeves to do the Batman movies. And there's already fan demand for it. There is already success from the first one, which in a way Snyderverse never really had, because there was a lot of division amongst fans on Snyder movies. So it's very different. And it's also very different than keeping around Henry Cavill. I know some people like to make that argument. I think I saw it. But Slav is 100% right. This is something that anyone with half a brain, which I understand is not everyone, has been saying for a very, very long time. And by the way, I don't disagree with the strategy of DC to cancel Superman and Lois. And I love Superman and Lois. Like, I love that show. I think it is possibly even better than Arrow season 1. It is so good. If you haven't watched it, what are you doing? Like, get on that. But they want to reserve characters like Superman for the cinema. it always felt a little weird in today's day and age where superhero movies rule the release calendar at movie theaters for a character as big as Superman to be in a TV show. But that's what we had for a while, and it was really good. But they want to reserve them for the big screen. And listen, there's also a lot of Superman and Lois fans that are like really, really upset over this. I kind of am. I would love to have more seasons of Superman and Lois, but I would prefer a consistent and expansive DC cinematic universe. So I understand, and it's a trade-off, and I think it's for the better.
100% agree. Couldn't have said it better myself. All right. Which is your favorite movie from the Sony Spider-Man universes?
So I've actually only seen two of them. Venom and Venom 2. Venom and Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. I really liked the first Venom. First Venom was a good movie. You know, when I saw the first Venom movie, I thought that this universe was going to be promising. Obviously, I was wrong. And listen, you didn't bother to see the movies yourself. I am not wasting my time if I know I'm not going to like a movie, okay? My time is valuable. A 2-hour commitment is a big commitment. I don't like to make that commitment unless I think I'm going to like the movie. If the movie is important enough to cover the movie, I will watch it. But I knew Stevie was going to go see Madam Web. I asked him and said, hey, if you really want me to see it, I'll see it. Turns out we never even touched on the plot or the details of the movie anyway. But
I would say I made a video on it. That was it.
Venom 1 was good. Venom 2 was Tom Hardy was a great casting for Venom. But I gotta say, I had hope for the Craven movie up until the reception of Morbius and Madam Web, which sucked because I really like all these characters. I love Venom, I love Morbius, I love Madam Web, I love Craven, and I was really hoping out for Craven. And now I'm also worried that is going to damage the reputation of Aaron Taylor Johnson, who I know is a contender for the next 007.
We're gonna have to debate that on Action Cuts, man. Because I don't see the vision. I don't see the vision of Aaron Taylor. My favorites are none. I hate them all. Yeah, I hate them all. I don't have a favorite one. I saw them all, so yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. None. Okay. So, Cosmic Marvel, shout out to them, friend of the show. DM them from time to time. They put me on to a lot of stuff with the X stuff and Twitter, all that stuff. So Cosmic Marvel said Kevin Feige is reportedly spread too thin and cannot work on Spider-Man 4 fast enough to release in 2025. Sony still wants the film to release in 2025 via Can We Get Some Toast? So just to give a quick backstory, Sony and Marvel always have mess going on. This is normal for them, okay? Mess makes, and from what we saw with Spider-Man No Way Home, a mess makes good content. So this guy, MCU Spider 616 says, nah, because if I were Tom or Feige, I should have say F you and quit the role. Then Sony will see once again just how effing useless they are without Marvel Studios.
So this guy is so irrational that he would prefer that Sony hold the L rather than get more fire Spider-Man movies. Like, that is so crazy to me. I get it that there's a lot of distaste for Sony with these spin-off movies, and people are really angry and frustrated to see characters they love be butchered on screen over and over again. I get that. But at the same time, like we've said throughout the show, Sony has done a lot of good with Spider-Man. And I don't know about you, I don't really care if Sony as a company suffers consequences because Madam Web was bad. I'd rather have Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse and whatever the next Spider-Verse movie is to come. I'd rather have another Tom Holland MCU Spider-Man trilogy. I'd rather have Spider-Man 3 for PlayStation 5. And I don't think I'm crazy for that. So I think this guy's crazy. And this kind of irrational, like, are you a fan of Spider-Man? Do you like Spider-Man? Do you want more Spider-Man movies? Or is it more important for you that Sony holds the L? Because it seems to me that your hate for Sony is a bigger priority than your love for Spider-Man. You're muted.
100%, bro. This dude's tripping. And you know me, I'm not the biggest Sony guy.
Yeah.
I do agree with the fact that they are kind of useless without Marvel Studios. That's pretty much proven to be true. But Sony pulling Spider-Man the first time is literally the reason why we are in the situation we are in right now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
which
the
part?
reason why. So after Avengers Endgame, they were planning for Spider-Man to be the biggest guy in Marvel. He was going to be in a bunch of projects, and Sony pulling them made Kevin Feige had to change up the whole entire MCU to not revolve around Spider-Man because he's scared that they might pull him again. So why would he just say YOLO when Spider-Man is the most popular character in his universe? Common sense, bro.
Yeah.
Common sense. So yeah, but you know, these guys get angry, bro. You know, and they speak out of anger, and like, kind of what I'm seeing, Cuts, is that like you and I, and like people like me, you, obviously our boy Rome. Shout out to the Why So City's podcast. Comic Cuts, Jerry and I are going to be on their show soon, talking some Star Wars. Can't wait for that. Those like people in our, and even culture nerd, people in our circle of content. Yeah, Slav, people in our content circle, they are very like level-headed. What is the word? Level-headed fans. And they don't just think from the fans, perspective. They think from the studio's perspective. They think from the actor's perspective. And when you are thinking from a selfish fan perspective, this is what you sound like.
But this is worse than a selfish fan perspective. This is like, it's so irrational that you'd rather not get Spider-Man content to stick it to Sony. It's crazy. I mean, this is the kind of like, I don't even know, like, how do you think and come to this conclusion? Like, it's insane. This is insane. And by the way, this is a lot of the kind of takes you see on Comic Book X Twitter. You see a lot of people who, like, obviously don't think things through and just post. And, like, it's crazy. And a lot of them get, like, a lot of engagement on this. I don't think this guy's page is, like, that big or anything, but there are other guys out there that do have big pages and do post ridiculous and completely thoughtless, irrational takes like this.
I agree. So yeah, Park MC Spider 616. We would love for you to hop on the show.
Yeah,
anytime you're welcome. All right, so another headache. Is this our last one? Yes, this is our last one of the night. This is my favorite one. So let's read this, okay? The Hollywood Reporter said this after Madam Web got scathing reviews, people started returning their tickets. You could actually watch advance purchase sales declining in real time as buyers were refunding their tickets. Marvel's a major theatrical chain insider. And the
caption of the article says,
the caption of the article says, inside Sony's Madam Web collapse, forget about a new franchise. And this person, Joe Costello, this probably isn't even a real person. This probably isn't even their profile picture, because these people like to hide who they are. This is what they say. It seems that only the MCU can be mediocre and receive good reviews to get the people going to the theaters. But if the movie is not made by Disney, it gets treated like if it's The Room 2003, which my guess is that it's probably a movie that failed in the early 2000s. And you responded to her, right?
Let me check.
I'm pretty sure you responded, because I found these tweets by going through your replies. I'm pretty sure you
I
responded
did.
to the shit.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I did. I said that's the benefit of a successful interconnected universe. People don't want to miss part of the story, a movie in parentheses, which obviously, by the way, she's a Snyder fan, so like she doesn't understand that. When you have an interconnected universe, people are bought in. We want to not miss part of the story. So while we might not be excited about a certain movie or project or not enjoy it, we still want to make sure that we're not missing part of that story. Also, I don't think that the Marvels or Thor, Love and Thunder were, and I didn't see Madam Web, but if you've been watching the show, I say the Marvels is the worst MCU movie ever, and Thor, Love and Thunder is just behind it. And I still think those movies probably clear Madam Web. I mean, Madam Web looked like it was straight out of the CW, and it was very obvious that Dakota Johnson didn't care about the movie. She said she didn't bother to watch the Spider-Man movies. So I have to imagine she didn't read the comics either. But, I guess she's trying to say that Disney and Marvel get special treatment, which is also kind of ridiculous because if you haven't noticed, every movie they put out, people are saying superhero fatigue. So Marvel has its own host of problems with the media and movie critics and that whole establishment. So to speak.
This lady's tripping, bro. Like she's acting like the Marvels didn't just flop, like she's acting like views haven't been down for shows like Loki. Like views have been down, bro. So I mean, there's no way that you can say Disney like is the reason why this movie didn't do great. I mean, Venom 1 did great. Venom 1.
I don't think she's saying Disney's the reason it didn't do great, but I think she's saying that when Disney has a bad movie or a movie that didn't like, it doesn't get treated in the same way as Madam
that's
Web.
cap. I think Ant-Man got worse treatment than Madam Web. Just saying. And Ant-Man wasn't that bad. Ant-Man got treated worse.
I like Ant-Man. I really do.
Same here.
I know. Yeah.
That movie is very, very, very slept on, but people are going to love it later on. Just watch. So, all right. This is where we're going to end this episode, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please like, subscribe, ring the notification bell so you know when we post. Videos going out every day. We love you guys. Have a good night. Peace out.
Peace.